Hello and welcome to Link Ahead, the City of Dublin podcast. I'm Lindsay Weisenauer, Director of Communications and Public Information.
And I'm Bruce Edwards, the Digital and Brand Manager for the city.
We are honored and excited today to be joined by Dublin Mayor Jane Fox. Mayor, welcome to Link Ahead.
Thank you. I'm really excited to be here with you today.
We're so glad to have you. Now, you have called Dublin home for over 30 years and served on council for 4 years before being elected mayor in January. Why is this such a great place, in your opinion?
Well, actually, I've been here almost 33 years, and I love it because I've always loved the natural beauty of this place ever since I was really young. I grew up on Columbus's west side, and on the weekends, my parents would take us up the River Road to Griggs Dam, up to the zoo. We'd cross over the old stone bridge coming into Dublin, and honestly, I was just so curious as a kid what that was all about. What's the history of the old stone walls? Why is the river such an interesting place, so pretty, a little bit about the village? And so, I don't know, I just always loved it from the time I was little.
So you've been mayor for about 6 months now. Tell us about the experience and how it's been for you.
Well, I can tell you I love the job. I do love it. It's been so much fun because I like people. I'm a people person. And this position allows you to meet so many diverse people and get a chance to hear what they have to say and what they love about Dublin, their ideas, their suggestions. And that's the part about Dublin I think that we're so richly blessed with, because we have so many people here that enjoy Dublin the way we all enjoy it. But to know that when we're working here and trying to build it, that they have ideas that we can incorporate. So I just love the meet and greets and the ribbon cuttings and welcoming new businesses to the city, and it's just fun for me.
So you were here enjoying Dublin as a resident. What made you want to run for city council?
Well, that's interesting. I never thought that I would ever do anything like this. I really didn't. But I live in the historic district, and I have a special love for my neighborhood and the history of the village. And Tom Holton, I think you all know him.
Oh, sure.
He's really active with the Historic Society. And getting to know him early on and living in the village, he told me lots of stories. And I met so many people that also had stories. So I felt like I wanted to find ways that I can help preserve the center of this city. And I know that it's a much loved area by many of our residents. So I ran because I just love the roots of the city and the people in our community that gathered around the tables early on, all the previous council members. And the Dublin Chamber of Commerce has this room that was the original town hall, and it has a table less than the size of this one where people sat around and tried to determine what the future of Dublin was going to look like. And I just want to be part of that. I want to know that I had a seat at the table. And I just think it's something that all of our residents should have an opportunity to find their chair at the table and talk about how to build a great city. So that was my reason.
Great.
So council recently adopted a new set of goals. What do you want residents to know about those goals?
We always have a million goals in mind, right? But this year, and they're always very progressive and they're very well thought out. But this year we have 4 main goals, which I know that we're going to continue to develop as we go forward. It always takes a lot of time. But one of the goals is to become the most connected city in the U.S. And we're looking at fiber to the home in every residence. Another one is we're building a visionary framework. And this framework going into the future, we started out thinking 2035, but as I see this framework, it's going to be something that is timeless, actually timeless. And it includes economics, quality of life, infrastructure, and land use. And within that are the buckets of many pieces and parts that make the well-being of a city, the resiliency, strong. And I think it's going to give us a really nice pathway to developing a city in a way that we'll be so proud of in the future.
So Mayor, can you dive into these a little bit deeper? Most connected, most sustainable destination of choice.
When we were looking at the framework for the city, we were trying to determine what is it that creates a holistic well-being for the future, right? So sustainable, meaning the economics, the fiscal abilities of the city in the future, our environmental services. And connected, we're looking at how, as a democracy, how are we connected with each other? How are our mobility options going to go into the future, where we have different ways of transporting ourselves from one area of the city to the other. The infrastructure, as you see, that we're doing some wonderful new things, that has to be very connected, but we're also looking at broadband and fiber to the home, ways to use technology to connect us more. And then on resiliency, that speaks to so many things, but especially to quality of life, like our physical resilience, our social resilience, our mental resilience, our safety. And so this whole framework is trying to catch within these 3 focus areas, the buckets of economics, the buckets of quality of life, land use, infrastructure, and then create guiding principles and objectives so that as future councils talk about what they're going to do, they can look at this framework and say, does it meet these holistic aspirations we have?
You know, that is so smart because this city is known for being well-planned and visionary. So that's a really, really smart way of approaching it.
I'm so proud of the work that our council and our staff do together. And then many of these ideas are also brought forward by citizens and past councils. So it's not as if we're coming up with something new. I think we're building on what other councils and other past objectives for the city have been. So we hope that with every framework we put together, that we leave the city better than it was before us.
You also mentioned this idea of being a global city of choice as a destination city. What does that look like for you?
You know, that's where we get to be really creative and use our imagination. And when we were doing our visionary for 2035, it was amazing the ideas that came forward, right? So the idea here is that obviously we have the Irish Festival and everybody knows that. We have some great events. And quality of life has a lot to do with happiness too. And having times that the community gathers. They own the land that they're celebrating on. So we're looking at reviewing a feasibility study about maybe providing a new performing arts center here. That's one thing. The new Parks Master Plan is going under a study where we're looking at, are we capturing all of the really fun and new and trendy events and activities and recreational opportunities? So that's getting a whole good review. And then, you know, we have the Downtown Alliance that works with Bridge Park and the Historic District to create a lot of energy down there. As everybody knows, that's a fun place to be. So we're looking at ways to make people happy. And so that's one of our goals.
Well, that's a fun job. You know, you mentioned the Parks Master Plan, and we were joking with Robert Rance about that because we already have 64 parks. Everybody loves them. You would think, oh, we might be done, but the city's never done. And we're going to the community to get some ideas, and this community will come forward with a lot of great ideas about what else they want for the future of our parks in the city.
Right.
So
anybody who's listening, just go tell Dublin what you think would be a fabulous new event for the city, or any suggestions you have. We welcome them all.
Your ward, Ward 2, encompasses the historic district, and we know that area is important to you, as you mentioned, but what's so special about it?
Oh, there's so many stories down the historic district. Besides the Fairy Garden Trail and the Cocktail Trail, which are all fun, and the kayaking. You know, if you just took a walk, and we do have a historic district walking tour that you can actually pick up. But if you take a walk, you'll see that the Historic Dublin Business Association has these little plaques by the buildings. And it has a QR code, and you can learn about who lived in that building and what that building's purpose was before, and that's always fascinating. Obviously, you can kayak down the river, but if you do, you're going to see the remnants of the old stone quarries, of the stone that built the houses that are in the historic district. And one of my favorites, by far my favorite, is the Indian Run Falls. So I got a story to tell you.
Okay, we're ready.
So that is such a natural resource for us. But it was also a campsite for Wyandot Indians. And I'm sure the Hopewell Indians as well. But in 1843, the government relocated the Wyandot Indians. But in 1844, Bill Moose, and I know you've all heard his name, he and his family and 50 other Indians who refused to leave Ohio wandered and lived right along the Indian Run Ravine. And they would walk up and down the Scioto River and the Olentangy, visiting the abandoned villages. And it's been said that the land just west, the flat land just west of the falls, was actually the village of Leatherlips. So you can walk the ravine and almost feel the presence of people that lived there before. It's a place that you can get away from the noise of the city, the traffic, the pedestrian activity, and you can just find serenity and a moment that's a little past in history, time in history. Right. So that's one of my favorites.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah, that is a hidden gem that a lot of people, if you stumble upon it, you'll want to go back time and time again.
People are so surprised to see it, right? It's an unexpected amenity. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So Jane, I'm sure you get peppered with questions all the time. So what are some of the most common questions or comments that you get from residents?
A lot of people call because they have questions about things, but a lot of people call because they have, things that they're concerned about. And the most frequent one is speeding on my street, right? How do you stop the speeding on my street? Lately, it's been the noise along Riverside Drive. But I think most importantly, what I love is the fact that people don't hesitate to call and ask, right? We're really very available. And we enjoy that, actually. And I can tell you, I know that here in the city, if you call with a comment, a question, a complaint, you will get an answer right away within 24 to 48 hours. But I always tell people, don't call me, use the Dublin Go app.
Right.
So what's your favorite way to engage with the residents?
I love face-to-face. I'm a little old-fashioned that way. I just feel like it's nice to have a face-to-face conversation. We couldn't do that very well with COVID. But, we're available in all kinds of ways, email. But I enjoy the public get-togethers, the conversations around the table. That's mine. I used to tease Greg Peterson, who was mayor here and is now not on council any longer because he gave so much service. It was time, he said, for him to relax. But he used to always say, Jane, I'm going to give you $1 for every time you say collaborate. I said, I'll be
How rich are you?
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be very rich because I like that. I like the collaboration of people.
Oh, so Bruce asked about the most common questions you get. How about the strangest call, complaint, or request you might have gotten?
I was thinking about this, and I can't imagine that I had anything really, really strange. Although just last week, I had a resident ask me to come out and walk a creek bed because he saw some green something that was laying on the rocks, and I couldn't figure out what it was. So we're standing out there in the middle of a creek, picking green something off of rocks and trying to figure out what it was. I felt, am I a mayor? Am I an archaeologist? Am I a waterway quality engineer? I don't know what I am, but I passed that on to staff, and I think that we have an answer to it. So it's just something that washed off some landscape, mats or whatever. Yeah. I can't remember. There's a lot of calls.
So Jane, an exciting development is underway along France Road called the Corners. We know you were involved in the public input process for that development. Tell us what that experience was like.
That is really that's a really fun development. The reason I think it's really important to kind of look back and see how that happened, I live in the historic district. So I have the opportunity to walk to restaurants and all these fun amenities. And I know that everyone else in the city would like that as well. And we in planning, I know the planning department, economic development, all of our plans for Metro Place and the Franz Road Corridor are to make it really pedestrian friendly. And so we were kind of hoping that we could work together to develop a design that would enhance the quality of the adjacent neighborhoods. So I think community engagement is Dublin's DNA anyway, right? We love community engagement. Sometimes it can be difficult because we have opposing views, but most of the time, it really results in some great ideas. So we asked the residents of Llewellyn Farms to help us kind of design the corners with the developer and with the city. And it was a very collaborative process. And many of the residents' voices resulted in this farmhouse architecture style that sort of complements the field of corn. And the Corners just opened a new Starbucks. We've got some.
I've heard.
We're all aware of that.
Oh, and it's a fabulous Starbucks. And there's patio seating outside, so it kind of invigorates the corridor on Franz Road. And then I know there's a restaurant coming. There's some retail services, and there's a central park for people to enjoy. It was built really to attract people who are in the office parks around, and also for the neighbors to enjoy it. And I think it's a really unique and beautiful new development that we can be proud of, and we call it the Corners.
So I don't know if all of our listeners know this, but your background and passion have long been about health and well-being. You're a graduate of the Mount Carmel School of Nursing. You were an emergency room nurse and then spent 20 plus years on hospital boards and committees. Where did those passions come from?
In my generation, you could be three things. You could be a teacher, you could be a nurse, or you could be a secretary. So nursing is where I ended up. My sister did too, but my family, my husband's a retired physician, but when you work as a nurse, where my passion comes from, I guess, when you work as a nurse, you really appreciate, and especially in the emergency room, just kind of how precious and sometimes fleeting really good health is. And nurses are placed in situations where you sit by people's bedside and you hold their hand and you listen to what they go through. And so you can never underestimate, and this is, I think, where the passion comes from, you can never underestimate the power of just listening to someone and who needs you to hear how they're feeling and you know what they're experiencing. And so I think for me, that's a lot of where my passion comes from, just having those early experiences and realizing that it doesn't take very much to lift the health of somebody, even just by, just being present.
I think you just answered this next question. People in medicine often have great amounts of empathy, and that's very beneficial in taking care of people and patients. How do you feel that helps you in this role?
Nursing can open up avenues to places you never imagined that you would go. It just is one of those, you're a problem solver, you're an observationist, you're a friend, you're a caretaker, you're a nurturer. But to be able to provide needed care for another person is a gift that we can just give each other. Right? We can, whether you're a medical professional, whether you're a volunteer, whether you're a stranger, or whether you are a city employee, right? So, we all have the opportunity to help improve each other's well-being. And on City Council, we've established long-term goals because health and well-being is a really important quality of life issue. And so one of our focuses is to help improve and maintain and promote physical, mental, and social well-being in our city. And that's how it kind of relates to this job. It's kind of fun. I wouldn't have imagined it would have taken me to this spot where you're actually developing goals for a whole city. But I think that's it's just something that happened, and it's. I hope that we are able to do that for our people.
Right. Along those lines, as you know, Dublin has become a real player in the healthcare sector with Cardinal Health, been here for a long time, Ohio Health, Quantum Health now here, and of course the Future Outpatient Center for OSU Wexner opening this summer. Talk about how Dublin is positioned as a medical hub. What makes that combination work here?
Aren't we lucky? Right. Aren't we blessed to have so many great healthcare organizations right here in the middle of our city? I mean, we have 3 hospitals. We have Nationwide Children's at Home. We can serve our people from birth to senior lives and that sort of thing. We have the availability of world-class health care here. We really do. And not only that and this is what's been interesting in this past week or so, I get a chance to do ribbon cuttings and meet new organizations. It's not just the treatment and the care that is given by the hospitals, but we have some unbelievable futuristic healthcare organizations that are doing some amazing things. We have innovative companies like UpDocs, which is in the telehealth area, and think how important that was during COVID.
Oh, sure.
We have, I just learned about this, DASI Simulations is an organization that's at Rev 1, and they're a Dublin-based company, and they are doing things to create algorithms that will help cardiac surgeons be able to avoid any complications during cardiac surgery because of the work they're doing. You can kind of look through it ahead of time. Then we have Adeline Biosciences, which is a spinoff from Nationwide Children's, which is doing genetic testing and treatment for things like Duchenne's muscular dystrophy. I mean, these are world-class companies here that are going to change the lives of not only Dublin residents, but, I mean, we're talking the nation, the globe. I mean, we are really, really fortunate. So, and then we have Ohio University Heritage College of Osteopathic Medicine who are training new young professionals. So I don't know how we got so lucky, but I would say that are we going to attract anybody more? I would imagine with that kind of excellence
All right.
that I think that we're going to be a magnet. I'll just say that. I'm assuming that we will be, and I have no doubt that we're going to have some unbelievable companies here in Dublin in the future.
So we recently had a resident contact us on Nextdoor with a question for you about Dublin's busking policy. Riverside Crossing Park and the East and West Plazas, the Dublin Link, have really become popular spots for outdoor musicians. And so can you talk about the city's policies on that?
I'm wondering how many people know what busking is. I
point.
didn't know at first. And so the policy is that if you're an acoustic and you don't have an amplifier, you can just, if there's no one there, you wait your turn and then you just entertain, right?
There you
now,
go.
if you have an amplified, then you need a permit, but they're not that hard to get. So that's busking, folks.
All right, asked and answered.
So, Jane, we have a tradition here at Link Ahead to do rapid fire with our guests.
Okay.
So are you ready?
I don't know.
You're more than ready.
We'll start with an easy one. How about that?
Okay.
So we were just talking about busking and music. So what's your favorite type of music?
Okay, so I like country and I like pop.
Okay.
And I'll just tell you real quick. I know this is rapid fire, but I think this is important for the youth of the city to know that I actually am a card-carrying member of the Zac Brown Band. One of the original charter fan club.
All right.
All right.
So, yeah.
Toes in the
Nice.
sand.
That's one of my favorites.
All right.
All right. Your favorite outdoor spots?
My favorite outdoor spot is usually somewhere by water so that you can sit and look at it. Or I love my back porch in the middle of the historic district because there's a lot of wildlife, believe it or not, that comes through. In fact, this morning I scared a young deer into the pond and got stuck in the mud. And it's like, you never know what you're going to see back there. So, yeah, that's one of my favorite spots.
Did you call Barbara Ray to get the?
I almost
Get over
deer
here,
out?
stat, Barbara.
I thought I was going to need to. This thing was like neck deep in mud. It was, yeah, but she got out okay.
Made it out okay. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, favorite city event.
Oh, come on. It's got to be the Irish Festival. I mean, that's
Oh,
a
that
gimme.
little thing.
That little thing we do.
Little
Yeah.
3-day
Sure.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
All right. Favorite sport to watch?
I have a lot of grandkids, and they're all in one, so I don't have a choice. Anything that they're doing and playing and involved in, that's my favorite sport.
Ooh, okay. So you have 10 grandkids.
I do.
How do you remember all those birthdays?
Well, my pat answer is, how would I forget them? They're all so special. But the true answer is, my husband's obsessive compulsive with a calendar, and he reminds me all the time.
Hey, those are good to have around.
Yeah. By the way, I have one tomorrow. I have a birthday tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
One of mine.
Well, happy birthday. How about a great Saturday in Dublin is?
Oh, a great Saturday in Dublin is, I would say, just, taking a stroll through the village. And then I am a gardener. I love to work out in the garden. So I am, passionate about that. So that's relaxing for me.
A great Saturday night in Dublin is.
Okay. So a great Saturday night for us is going to the place where everybody knows your name. And that is the Dublin Village Tavern. Sure. It's like the local Cheers.
That's true.
I mean, you go
Who
in,
doesn't love that
Joe and Steve, the bartender, say, "Hey, how you doing? Here's your drink." They don't even ask you.
Great place.
Yeah.
An event or style of event from another city that you'd like to bring here?
Oh, well, I'm not the only one who feels this way, but I would love to see Riverside Crossing Park transformed into a magical winter village that has a Christmas market like they have in Germany.
Oh, that sounds
I
fun.
can almost smell the aroma of cinnamon rolls and mulled cider and the grilled sausages. Vice Mayor DeRosa has been there, and she's described it. It's twinkling lights, and it's just amazing. There's ice skaters, there's music. It's a little village, and it would be such a unique and fun destination. And to tell you the truth, the secret is out, but we are actually exploring the possibility of that.
Oh, that's so exciting.
Right.
People would love that.
Nice. A book you'd recommend to just about everyone?
Oh, I like Simon Sinek's Start With Why.
Okay.
Why you do the things you do.
Favorite Dublin ice cream spot?
Anyone that has peanut butter and chocolate. I don't have, and
Good
those are hard to
combination.
find. So wherever I can find that, that's my favorite.
All right. Best way for residents to reach you?
Well, people can call me. They can stop me in Kroger's or any of the grocery stores. They stop me on my walks. You can email me at jfox@dublin.oh.us, or you can use our new Dublin Go app that says Tell Dublin, and I'm sure we'll hear it that way.
Oh, good.
Or you
Good
can
answers.
contact us through Dublin's website, Contact Council. So
No shortage of ways.
no, I can't hide.
Yeah, not that you would want to.
I can't hide. No, nor do I. You're right. Nor do I want to. I love those conversations, like I said.
Oh, well, we've loved this conversation
Absolutely.
with you. Mayor Fox, thank you for joining Link Ahead.
Well, thank you for having me. This has been so much fun.
So much fun. You'll have to come back.
And to our listeners, thank you for taking the time to connect with your city. Next time, tune in as we continue to explore the many personalities and experiences that make Dublin a thriving place to live, work, and grow.